coming. I was at sort of the initial mini opening here, and we had about half as many people, and we were impressed. And I can tell you, there must have been half a dozen people who walked up because they saw the sign, and they said, "I never thought we'd have a Democratic office in Walnut Creek." So, everyone involved with the UDC, because this is quite an accomplishment getting this open, and it's really a sign of the times, because let me ask you, is this a good year to be a Democrat? Yeah. I think it probably is the best year of my entire life to be a Democrat. Yeah. 1960 was great, but I was a young kid then, and let me tell you, in 1960 we wanted change. We have to have change in 2008. If we don't have change at the top, we're going to have 8 more years of the Bush failed policies. And, you know, we are so far in debt that, I don't know, it's going to take, you know, tremendous effort on the part of all of us to dig ourselves out of that debt. And so there has to be change at the national level. But there has to be change at the state level as well. You know, it's not enough to change the federal government and leave our state budget and state government the way it is today. You know, your budget is a statement of your values. And you know, if you take a look at California and what's happening today with our state budget, it's not the reflection of my values, and I hope it's not the reflection of any of your values. You know? No. I've been on the school board for 18 years. 1991 was when we did our first round of cuts. We cut reading specialists back in 1991. We've never restored them. You know, I'm going through my 5th round of budget cuts as a school board member, and we can't allow any more cuts to public education. We rank 47th in the nation in funding. And per capita income in California, we spend the lowest in the nation to educate our children. And you know, one of the things you have to do as a candidate that's not fun, that takes up lots of time, Mark knows this, is you fill out questionnaires because everybody wants to know where you stand in positions and whether or not they're going to endorse you. And when I look at these questionnaires, and I look at the fact that we have a shortage of public safety officers, we have a shortage of doctors, we have a shortage of nurses, we have a shortage of speech pathologists, we have a shortage of teachers now, and it's going to grow even bigger in the coming years. We have a shortage of engineers, and we have to ask ourselves, is there going to come a time where we're all going to realize that we have to invest in K-12 education, in higher education? It was Pat Brown who, in 1960, came up with the Master Plan for Education, and the intent of that Master Plan was for every child in California who worked hard to be able to go to a community college, a state college, or a UC free. You know, we're privatizing our colleges and our public schools at all levels. So we need to get back to the values that are dear to us. We need to work together to find a way to solve our health care crisis. You know, not only to figure out how we're going to cover the 6.8 million Californians who aren't insured, including 1.8 million children, but to figure out how we're going to make our current system work better for all of us. You know, we need to work on the environment. And in the 15th, you have the Delta, which maybe you've heard me talk about the Delta over and over again. The decisions we make on the Delta in the next couple of years in terms of how we're going to share our water and how we're going to preserve the environment are going to affect not only our generations, but affect our children's generation, our grandchildren's generation. It will affect, you know, how this state does business and takes care of its people for years to come. The big problem we have in Sacramento, Mark will tell you about this, is you need a 2/3 vote to pass a budget. And that's why you have bills like, you know, a yacht tax, a sales tax exemption for yachts, while you're cutting services to the needy people. Mark and I were on a panel not too long ago, and there were 2 clients who received home health services from the state. One was a quadriplegic and one was a paraplegic. With the mid-year budget cuts, they weren't going to be able to get all of their medicines anymore. Oh. And all of us know that when you don't get your medicine and you get ill, you go into the emergency room. And you know that if you go into the emergency room, those services cost even more money than if you just paid for the pills. What's worse, though, with the budget cuts that are being proposed, these people won't even have the home health care they need to remain in their homes. And what that means, the one woman who I'll never forget, said, you know, I refuse to go into an institution. And we all know that as a state, if we have to pay for an institution, that's much more expensive than having someone come into her home. She said, I will live on the streets before I go into an institution. So that's what's happening with the budget today, and with our inability to have 2/3 of the vote to pass a budget. Now, I want a budget that's lean. I want to eliminate redundancy and find, you know, tax loopholes. You have to manage your money wisely. But I don't want a budget that's mean, that's balanced on our children, and that's balanced on the neediest Californians. And I know that all of you share those same values. I'm not going to walk along, but I want to tell you about the 15th Assembly District. I've lived in the San Ramon Valley for 26 years. And the entire time I've lived in the San Ramon Valley, I've never been represented by a Democratic Assembly person. The seat has always been Republican. And I've lobbied up in Sacramento for our kids, for schools, for many issues. It's always been Republican. Some of them don't meet with you at all, some of them are cordial, but it's really difficult to get them to be advocates in the areas that we think are important. In 1996, when Gail Murray ran for state assembly, there was an 8 percentage point Republican advantage in the assembly district. Now, the assembly district was a little bit different then. It had all of Margarita. Gail actually won on election night, and she lost after all the absentee ballots were counted. She lost by just under 1,500 votes. 6 years ago, when Donna Gerber ran against Guy Houston, Donna faced a 6 percentage point registration advantage by the Republicans. A little over a year ago, when I entered the race, the Republicans had just under a 3 percentage point registration advantage. Today, because of the work of all of you in the different Democratic clubs, the Democrats have almost a 2 percentage point registration advantage. And because of the work you continue to do, we think it could be up to 3 or 4% by November 4th. But, this is a big but, they don't consider it a safe district unless you have an 8 to 10 percentage point registration advantage. So we have a tremendous opportunity to take the last red seat in the 9-county Bay Area and make it a Democratic seat. But we're only going to do it if we work hard. I tell people the difference between opportunity and reality is hard work. And so I need your help, you know. I'm sure all of you are Obama supporters. Yeah. So am I. But if all we do is vote for Obama and we don't get people to vote down the ticket for Mark, for myself, talk about Kish in just a minute. It's not, you know, we're not going to see the change that we so desperately need in California as well. So I'm here today to ask you for your help and your support. Not just for me in the Assembly, but for Kish, who's running for Walnut Creek City Council. Hopefully he'll have a minute to talk with you, but Kish used to live in Danville. And so I've known Kish for a long time, and there is not a higher quality candidate for Walnut Creek City Council than any party. He's hardworking, and he will represent you so well on the Walnut Creek City Council. So we have great candidates at all levels, and it's not just up to us. You know, we're going to work as hard as we need to work. It's going to be up to you to help all of us get elected, because it really does take a village. It takes a village at all levels. And please, whatever you do not get complacent. Even with the large leads you see Obama having in California, that means nothing. Politics can change on a dime. We have to be vigilant and work hard all the way up to November 4th, and then we're going to really party. So, thank you very much.